Black men buy houses. Dear young brother, the young brother that is a teenager, the young brother that is a young adult in their early 20s, you can buy a home. Whether if it's your personal home, whether if it's an investment property. I am William Chapman III. You are tuning in to the Willpower Hour, where we encourage individuals to elevate their lives through personal development, starting with the mindset. Today, I want to just come on here and talk about my journey and my most recent accomplishment that I have been sitting on for about a little bit over 10 years now. So recently, I just invested into my first real estate property by bringing in a private moneylender partner. And this has been one of the biggest accomplishments ever outside of me having a child. In my early 20s, coming out of high school, I wanted to get into the real estate game. I wanted to be a real estate investor, but I really didn't know what that meant. I didn't really know how to actually do that. All I knew was my grandmother used to always say, "Hey, you should buy houses. You should buy, back tax homes." You know, Unfortunately, a lot of people in my family have never owned their own home, but for my grandmother to have put that in my mind, I thought that was pretty great. And that is the definition of a leader or a person who loves to guide people based off of maybe some unfulfilled voids in their life. And I knew because maybe she hit some barriers in that part of life when it came to owning real estate. She was pushing me to do it. So I remember just getting on Google, and one of the things that I had researched when I was about 19, 20 years old, one thing that I typed in Google was 100 ways to get paid, or it was 100 ways to make money. And the other one was, how do successful people, become successful? And one of the articles that I had, received, it had like a list of things that successful people did and do, or the careers and things that they are in. And real estate was one of them. And that just brought me back to remembering what my grandmother told me to do, which was invest in back taxes homes. Now, I never did it because I just didn't know, in my early 20s. And, I just thought that maybe I had to work, save my own money, and go spend my own money to acquire real estate. So to fast forward to 10 plus years later, I finally bought my first real estate investment property. Right after getting into the group home game. When I came into the group home space, let me back up a little bit. So I actually bought my personal home, but because I am not using it as a cash flow asset, it is a little bit considered a liability in a sense. I'm 50-50 sold on that and not sold on it. And here's why, because this is my perspective. I feel like my personal home is just a savings account for me. I get to put money into my home each month over the course of years to someday be able to go and pull that money out and use that money to either buy me a dream home or go invest in more real estate properties to be able to create generational wealth. So I bought my home, I believe it was 2020. It was during COVID. Obviously, interest rates and things like that was down. And I did buy it FHA because that's what I was taught. I was taught and told by FHA. But what I didn't do was get a duplex like I was supposed to be able to house hack. One of the biggest regrets ever, but still in my situation, everything still works out. If I would have known I would have been in the group home game right now, man, I would have bought that duplex because I could have just moved out that home and used that home as a group home to be able to house vulnerable citizens who don't have nowhere to go. So I ended up buying my personal home literally, it's 2025, so 5 years ago or 4.5 years ago. And now, fast forward, I buy my first real estate investment property. And the reason why or how I was able to do that was obviously I told you that I brought in a private money partner, but it really didn't start there. It started with my mindset regarding wanting to buy a home. It started with me being intentional. It started with a plan. And when I talk about the mindset, it's meaning that I deserve to own a home. It's me wanting to own a home because my mother, my grandmother, and many other people in my family wasn't able to do that. And I feel like ownership is very important when it comes to generational wealth. Now, there are some people who will say, well, it's only, important if you have somebody to pass it down to and they keep up with it, which is most definitely true. And I just hope and pray that now that I have a daughter, I am able to instill things into her to let her understand that it is very important to hold on or take care of the things that I will be obtaining and eventually passing down to her. Now, I mentioned mindset too because there are people out there who will literally want to rent or lease their home forever because of this one statement. Well, you really don't own the home, the bank does. Which there's some truth to that. But in my eyes, if I'm going to go and spend $1,500 to $2,000 plus on a rent home, I would rather put that into a home that I know one day I can at least get my money, if not all, some of my money back out. Because when you rent and lease, that money just goes and it will never come back. Yes, I get it. When you own a home, you have to fix everything on your own. The furnace, AC, the roof, small little leaks and breaks. I get it. But for me, for a person who didn't really take responsibility well, I'm happy that I have to do those things. I'm happy that I have to pay bills because it allowed me to see the growth in me from where I used to be. And all day long, I would rather fix things that is mine rather than other people. Now, don't get me wrong. Fixing a roof can get expensive. I believe when I had to update my roof, it was about 10, 11 grand, which was cool. I didn't complain about it. I took pride in being able to fix something that I can say is mine. And I spoke about being intentional. When I came into the group home game, I already knew that I wanted to be a real estate investor. So I had it in my mind already, hey, you know what? I'm going to start this group home business. And I am going to use every piece of change that I have and eventually leverage my credit when when I find somebody who is credible and truthful and has integrity to help me get business funding. And I'm going to go and purchase this real estate investment property. Because in 2023, one of the biggest barriers to me starting my youth group home, which is a licensed group home that I have a deep passion to do, I couldn't do it because of the real estate part. So I end up pivoting. But I told myself in 2 years, I will go and rent 2 homes to put people in these homes to be able to generate cash flow, but also make a difference in the community for those who don't have places to go. And I would take all those funds and reinvest those funds. And now, 2025, we are here. I finally invested into a real estate property. And it hadn't been the easiest journey. There has been some emotions regarding this. In the past several months, meeting, my big brother figures and/or slash mentors who pushes real estate ownership all day long and using group homes as an exit strategy regarding group homes, we've looked at several homes. And when I think it's the home, is like, for me, something just didn't go right. Maybe it was overpriced. It was outside of our buy box. Maybe it had too much, too much construction that was going to be needed for a person like me coming in with little to no experience. Just a whole bunch of other things. But one of my big brother slash mentors in the real estate game, he said, "Hey, bro, it's cool. Like, you gonna get a deal. We gonna find you one." And sure enough, he ended up finding this deal. So I end up bringing in a private money partner. And my private money partner, which is big brother figure slash mentor in the real estate game, he's one of the two. He expressed that he wanted to invest in this because he wanted to invest in me because he's seen my passion for being able to get ready to use this as a youth group home. And that meant a lot to me. And, I expressed to people like, I did not need to bring in a partner. And my pride wanted me to just do it alone and not bring in no partner. But listening to both of my big brother slash mentors who are in the real estate game, who's teaching me these things, they have been big on using OPM, which is other people money. So I had to get out of my own mind and shift my mind, shift my perspective, let my pride go, let all those negative things go that can typically hold us back, and utilize the resources around me. He's been pushing me to say, hey, go connect with investors or other private money lenders who are looking to make a return on their money that they may just be sitting in a low interest type of account. And he also was like, you have people in your proximity who will literally invest in you and you never reached out to anybody in your proximity. And that hit me. So when he mentioned that he wanted to invest, I went ahead and allowed him to because I trusted his judgment. And I was grateful for everything he had taught me up to this situation. And sometimes we get in our own way, always thinking we have to do things alone. And for a very long time, I was like that because I had trust issues. And I have issues with waiting on other people. I am a firm believer of if you continue to wait on other people, you will be waiting forever. I am a firm believer of it. But I had to let those things go and just take a chance. And that is why we are here today. And one of the good things about partnering on my first real estate investment property with my big brother slash mentor is he's been in the real estate game doing multiple things in the real estate game. So not only do I get to partner with him, and we split the liability or, the cost or whatever you want to call it, I also get to learn from him. Like, we just walked the property. He flew down here and we just walked the property. And of course, I'm showing him around, letting him know what everything looked like and what we going to do and how we going to do it. There were some things that he was impressed with, and he, supported me with how we was going to do certain things. And then there were some things like, nah, bro, we not finna go and remodel that or do this and the third. Basically, you just going to cost you more money and more time and more hassle with, permitting and things like that. So, having them there, I still get to be educated and learn rather than going to do it on my own, hitting many roadblocks that can literally cost me a whole lot. Because I don't know nobody who has money to just be wasting. Now, I am a firm believer of I need to fail, I need to be held back, I need to have some delays so I can grow. But some delays and failures and setbacks can be unnecessary. So why go down that route? So that's kind of, what I came on here about. I was able to get my first real estate investment property. We're now looking to do some things with the city, get it taken care of and prepared. We do currently have a tenant in a home, which is interesting. I'm literally a landlord for real, for real. Like, I'm not gonna say I never seen myself as being a landlord, but like, I'm a landlord. Like, I really have to look after the property. I really gotta tend to my tenants. Good thing is we have some great tenants that we was able to absorb. That home look as new as when the seller was living in it. And actually, I'll kind of tell you how we was able to get this property. So we ended up getting this property creative finance. And if you don't know what creative finance is, it's just basically a creative way outside of the traditional way. And this seller, typically when you get creative finance deals, at least with my mentors, we typically run into people who are in distress. But this person wasn't really in distress. They had just been called to move to another state to work. So she had just put a lot of money into this property. I'm talking about fixed it up nice. It's beautiful on the inside. And she was called to move. So when she moved, she had to rent it out. And after a while, she was trying to sell the home. She put it on the market. Nobody wanted to buy it at the price that she wanted. She had investors come in and lowball her because, of course, the investors was probably going to turn around and flip it or whatnot. So, she was like, no, I'm not doing it. So her realtor was actually in my mentor's mentorship when it came to the real estate part. And she was just like, hey, man, look, I have a client, trying to sell his home. Do y'all know anybody who want to buy this home? And my mentor was like, yeah, man, we buy homes and, we're looking for a home, this and that and the third. Of course, my mentors looked at it for themselves first, but it was outside their buy box based off the co-living model that they were doing. So they called me and they like, hey, Will, we got this deal, check it out or whatever. Of course, the rent or the mortgage on it was outside of what I wanted to pay, especially based off the share living model that I'm doing right now with the adults. But I had to think about it. Hey, you're not using this home for the adults. You need this home for your youth group home so you can get these kids in so you can start along your journey in which you are aligned with and start impacting the youth. So I end up, going through with it, and that's whenever, my now partner on the real estate, he was like, hey, I'll invest in it with you or whatnot, and that's how we got here. So in learning how to acquire property creatively is actually interesting. And it has shifted my mindset to not go back to the traditional way of obtaining real estate. And it's one of those things like you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And that is why it is important to be around certain people, be in certain rooms, and have certain conversations because you start getting exposed to different things. But, I don't really want to make this about me too much. I just want to say shout out to my partner and shout out to the seller because the way we acquired the property, the way the communication had been going for the past 60 to 90 days, the way us as the buyers and her as the seller, the way our relationship has grown has been great. And from what I hear and what it seemed like, transactions like this is typically not easy because you have to educate and inform individuals of how this creative financing, work. So, I'm just literally grateful for many things. Forever grateful and forever humble that I was able to finally find a real estate investment property. And was finally able to learn how to use other people's money by bringing in my partner to invest in this deal. He always pushed me to say, hey, man, all you need to do is do one, and start building with more people. especially because my vision is bigger than just this. My vision one day is to buy land, build on it, but build things that is going to be beneficial to one's growth. Like I envision myself buying land, having a youth home on there, having a home for seniors, having a community center on there, somewhere where the community can congregate and we can start offering different programs and services for both adults, but most definitely for the youth, because that's who we gotta reach back and save. And being in the group home industry, being around adults who have things that they take on every day that are basically unfortunate, it just made me realize, okay, we need to play the preventative game and be productive with helping our young people out. Because if we don't get our young people on the right track, they would end up like some of the adults that are having day-to-day, problems, which is very unfortunate. And for any young people out here, I want to be that person who inspires you, that motivates you, that shifts your mindset to let you know that someday you can buy a home, whether it's your personal home or, it's real estate. You can be that person who can start a business, who can be an investor, who can change the trajectory of your life, who can break the generational curse of your family. You just have to be intentional about it. And I think we all deserve some form of wealth. Literally. I'm a firm believer of it. But I feel like we only deserve it if we put our mind to it, if we prepare for it, and if we change how we are day by day to get ready for what's to come. So that's my little spiel about me finally obtaining my first real estate investment property. I will be making another video breaking down the steps and talking about creative financing. That way we can help more people, especially more young men, obtain some form of generational wealth. Because they would never stop making homes and people would never stop buying homes. And I think it's important that each and every individual, especially a young man that is going to watch this, should be able to buy a property at some point. And young man, please don't worry about the people who are going to talk you out of it. Don't listen to it. People who are going to talk you out of buying a property, finding every problem to the solution there is, they have an issue within them, their own self. There's no way we can be living in the world where there are people literally owning real estate, generating cash flow, building wealth through equity, and living a pretty decent life, or setting their kids or grandkids up for success with real estate. Like, there's no way to be able to watch these things and say that, I'm not going to get into it. Just know that there's a reason why real estate is what it is. And don't allow nobody to talk you out of it. Get around people who are owning real estate, not people who don't own a lick of real estate, who doesn't want to own a lick of real estate because they're limiting beliefs, because of whatever they were taught in a negative way. So I hope this brings value to any individual out there. You see me buying real estate. You see me in the group home game. You see me leading the pack. You see me pushing personal development. You can do the same. I do a lot of this stuff Not only just for myself, it's to inspire individuals like you who are watching this video. If I can do it, you can do it. I don't come from a lot of information and education. I don't come from wealth. I don't come from environments or rooms where we are consistently talking or pushing, generational wealth and growth properties. But I am creating that environment. I'm creating that path. And just because you didn't come from it doesn't mean you don't deserve or you don't have an obligation to create it. Don't allow the next generation, whether that's your child, whether that's your niece or nephew, to go through the things at an early age that you went through. With technology and all the information that's on the internet, you have the ability to create whatever life you want. Of course, some people are going to say, oh, if it's on the social media, then it's probably played out. Not really true. It's not really true. But of course, a small mind would think like that. And even if it's played out, doesn't mean that it still can't work. So, if you found any value in this, please like, share, and subscribe. I will continue to come on here and speak about my journey, put things into perspective, and try to correlate mindset stuff with everyday living and decision making. Buying real estate for me was a mindset shift in general. Matter of fact, it was a generational and life transformation within itself. It literally has shifted my mind and boosted my confidence in so many ways. Yes, I might not own 100% of the real estate, but at least I own something. And I also get to obtain education as I go on to be able to buy more real estate and land. So, catch you on the next video.